it's always very, very difficult to make things simple. It's the hardest thing of all, and this material is not easy. I mean, I knew quite a lot about Freud before I started, but I knew nothing about Jung, and Jung, admirable as he is in so many ways, is not the easiest writer to grapple with. So first of all, the problem was to understand what they were trying to say, or what they did say, rather, and then to make it accessible without making it, foolish, or you don't want people, saying to each other, "I've just had an idea about what I might call the collective unconscious," or any of that stuff. So it was a long, long process writing it, but then the making it accessible is down to these people.
Oh, it was easy, really. I mean, we just did the script, basically. I mean, that was the key, that Christopher could compress an incredibly complex subject, the birth of psychoanalysis and all that. There were hundreds of wonderful, eccentric, strange characters who floated in and out of that world. And even to the extent that Emma Jung, for example, became an analyst herself, which is something we couldn't deal with in the movie. But that Christopher could compress that down to basically 5 main characters and make it, and still give you the essence and the feel and the texture of the times. That's the art, that was the great. And once we had the script, it was just playing it out, scene by scene. As I've often said, casting is a kind of a black art. It's a huge part of being a director that's rather invisible, and you really only have your intuition to guide you. There's no guidebook, that tells you whether 2 people who have never met will have chemistry on screen, for example. I had never seen Kira and Michael in a movie together, or never seen them in a room together until we were actually shooting. So you just have your own intuition, and that goes also in terms of how well and how deeply an actor can play the role that you're anticipating them for. So I for whatever reasons, I really was fixed on Kira. I really thought that she was the one to do this movie. And by the time I talked to her, she was pretty much convinced herself that she should do it. It was obviously a great role. It did require some extreme things. There's some erotic scenes and the going crazy scenes. Obviously difficult because they're so much off the normal path of what you do as an actor. But she's incredibly down to earth and incredibly bright, and does a lot of research, like really deep research. And so we could have just a very frank talk about how, for an actor, when it comes to sex scenes, for example, the actor wants to know, where's the camera going to be? I mean, it's a very straightforward thing. And I could tell her, so it was a discussion of, in a very, adult, and it didn't take very long, just to get over, to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it.
In the end, no matter how much research you do, and how good the script is, how historically accurate in this case, how interesting the material is, how well known the character you're playing is, in the end you're going to be adding yourself. You're adding your body, you're adding your voice, you're adding your mind and your feelings to it. So I never really, people ask me that when I was doing Lord of the Rings, do you feel a big responsibility playing Aragorn? People have this. I said, no, I'm just playing this character. I'm trying to find out as much as I can about it so I don't make an ass of myself, basically. And the same goes for Freud. I was aware of the fact, just on a practical level, that it was different. As I said before, that I had a lot more dialogue, but no, I don't feel differently about a character that I imagine almost completely. I don't feel a big difference between playing that sort of character than to play someone who people have a very set idea about, where there's a lot of photographs and written material about them.
I think what's interesting when you're dealing with like real heavyweight characters like this, real revered characters, that you find out that there's human beings underneath there that have egos and have very sort of basic and obvious flaws, and to play with those elements is also fun.
I think my horror films have actually influenced psychoanalysis. Honestly, apparently they show those movies at psychoanalytic sessions, and they show them to patients. I mean, God knows, you know. And I don't get paid for that, but really, I know there are artists like Bernardo Bertolucci, for example, says he does apply psychoanalytic methods to his filmmaking. And of course, the surrealist Salvador Dali and so on, the idea of dreams and dream interpretation was very important to their art and their approach to art. But for me, it's not that conscious. I mean, it's really, I think any artist growing up in the 20th century, as I did, and being formed in the crucible of the 20th century, is automatically influenced by Freud and by his ideas and his understanding of human nature and so on, which did not exist in that form before him. So to that extent, I'm influenced by it, but not, as I say, in a direct way. I really think that artists and psychoanalysts, in a way, do the same thing. That is to say, you know, you're presented with an official version of reality, which is the surface reality. And then, and you say, okay, that's nice as far as it goes, but what's underneath? You know, how do you both dive underneath the surface to see what's really going on, what's hidden, what's not understood? And a psychoanalyst does that with his patient, and an artist does that with society in general, I think. So that's really the connection.